Hi, my name's James and I've been involved in the sport of fencing for about 30 years. I started fencing when I was about 7 and have since competed nationally and internationally for over 20 years. I've had the privilege of representing the UK at a number of World Championships and at Olympic Games in Sydney in Australia in the year 2000 and have won 12 British national titles. Now that I've stopped competing, I wanted to try and give something back to the sport. And I thought, what better way to do that than create a grassroots fencing program called Little Musketeers, and using all that knowledge I've gained from the sport over the last 30 years to try and inspire the next generation of potential world and Olympic champions. I started with one school 7 years ago, and now we teach in over 350 schools across Essex and London. We have a number of franchises, and we have several thousand children doing the sport now. So we come to the schools with all the equipment, and we have a hugely varied game, and I like the fact that I've used all my knowledge of fencing from my 20 years in the international career and tried to adapt games that are going to be really well liked by kids. So they don't necessarily know what they're doing until I explain the game. So they're that subtle. You know, the fencing skills are quite subtle behind, you know, the theory. One thing I realised when I started this company is that if this is going to succeed and grow and expand, we need to keep in touch. We need to be relevant and fresh and keep these children interested, because with all the pulls of social media and computers and video games, they're getting so good now that it's getting harder and harder to keep children in sport, especially within the school day. So our company runs at breakfast clubs, we do a lot of PE, we do a lot of lunchtime and after school clubs, extracurricular clubs. It's going great guns, and we're continuing to expand, and we hope to one day create an Olympic champion of the future. Our classes tend to be an hour long, and we have a very strict structure to our classes. We always start with the warm-up games, but I always emphasise that it's not about warming up just the body, it's also about warming up the brain and the mind, because fencing is a mental game. We also do some mind games with them, so we're trying opposite way running and following the sword, and this allows them to start thinking like a fencer, because as a fencer you need to always expect the unexpected. It's amazing how many children know the rules, but they cannot resist going the way they're told, because that's the way the brain works. It's the instinct, and that's what I love about this sport, is a problem-solving game, and that really brings us on to all the other activities we do. So after the warm-up games, we start focusing on the technical movements and positions. So fencing is a very disciplined sport. You know, kids, when they first start our club, they want to get a sword in their hand and just run around and poke each other. You know, so what we have to do is rein in that enthusiasm, not kill it, because we need that enthusiasm, but to channel it into being productive. So they learn their on-guard positions. You know, they learn their lunging. You know, we like to get them understanding their own speed as well, because again, a child's instinct when they first start fencing is to want to rush in straight away. And so what we teach them is games that involve being patient and timing their speed. So we give them timed interval training. We have a lot of exciting equipment. We have our acoustic saws, which make the buzzing sounds when you push the beavers in. So we do a lot of target practice games, and we explain to the children, when you're fencing someone, you know, your opponent is always going to be moving, so you've got to get used to hitting a moving target. So we fused a bit of boxing in there with the fencing, use the boxing pads to get them focusing on hitting variable targets, moving targets. And we also focus on the reaction, but keeping the body still, okay? Because in fencing, again, when a child first starts, they're bouncing around all over the place, and their footwork is all wrong. So we need to work on using exercises to build their technique in movement. And also, when they're defending themselves, it's very easy in a fencing match to sort of slash around and lose that accuracy, because if you lose control of your own sword, it's going to be much harder for you to score the point in the zone that you need to. So we do the sword drop game, which allows them to focus on that blocking action, that parrying action, but without twisting their body. So the sword on the head, even though it looks a bit strange when people first see it, there is method in that madness. We do the sword balance races. Again, it's about discipline in movement. So not bouncing around, bending the knees, keeping the knees bent, so your upper body is not bouncing around and moving. And it just helps engage them and helps sort of drill into them that there's that need for that fluidity in movement. So later be able to move over the floor almost effortlessly, as if they're floating. So when they're actually fencing, you can see they're very colourful equipment, and I think, as I said to you before, it's we're having to stay fresh and relevant, and I think the equipment lends itself well to that. The blue and red masks and the swords and the acoustic swords, all look like little Power Rangers when they put their masks on, and I think that helps keep the children. They like having the looking cool as well. That helps with the sport. We do have rewards. If they do work hard, we have a gladiator week where they get to put their shields on and their masks and swords, and they get to have a bit of a gladiator battle. They understand very clearly from the outset that is a reward week, so if they work hard, they get that. And we also do, what I think is very important, is a Hollywood week, where they get in pairs and they have to choreograph a routine from a movie. So all in all, we have a very varied course. There are lots of different difficulty levels to all the games. You saw the hoops being thrown. We can throw those at slow pace or a fast pace. We can increase movement, we can introduce movement with the target pads. I like to have team elements to it as well, so we have groups, we do the same skill games but in teams. So as one of my kids mentioned, Action, he loves that because it allows them to communicate with each other, understand their strengths and weaknesses, and come up with a solution that's going to benefit the team rather than all thinking about themselves. The balloon game's great. The kids really respond well to it. They want to do it every week, but we can't do it every week. And it's a really interesting game because, again, it's a team working game. We give them a number in a circle. They can only hit the balloon when it's their turn and it's their number. And balloons are very strange things. They're very strange effects on children. When a balloon comes near them and they've got a sword in their hand, they can't resist sometimes just hitting the balloon, when it's not their go. And so it's about discipline, teamwork, everyone being alert. So I emphasise the fact that only one person needs to be half asleep here and the whole team fails. So everyone's in the zone, alert. We have a great piece of equipment, the reaction board, which we plug into the wall, and I've never seen children become so competitive until this thing comes out. It's a reaction board, so essentially it measures the kids' reaction speed, so that when the light comes on, the quicker they can hit that light with the sword, the quicker their reaction. So it's a very clever machine. It's going to react. It tells the reactions after their 10 goes or 5 goes, and we keep this data ongoing, so we have a record of every student's reaction speeds, and we hope to see that improvement generally over the course of the terms as they're doing it. And we generally see that upward trend, that quicker reaction speed as they go along, because they're used to fencing, they become used to holding the sword, and the technique becomes better. So it's nice to see a child's reaction speed where they couldn't hit a single light to start with, and then by the end of year 1 or 2, they're hitting those lights as if they've been doing it every day. We teach in our main classes children from the age of 5 upwards, and once the children reach the age of 8, we introduce an assessment and grading programme which documents every child's progress on key areas such as technique, speed, agility, reaction and hand-eye coordination. We currently have 6 grading bands from green to black, and this we found certainly keeps the children engaged, dedicated and interested in our programme. Obviously each week there is an element of the class which is fencing, and when they got their gear on, we're introducing different focus points. So we don't want just to walk around watching them fencing. We want to try and give them exercises to do and concentrate on. For example, when one line stands still and the other line's advancing towards them, it's that ability to be able to wait, and also for the attacking team, it's that ability to really figure out where they need to be and what move they're going to use. At Musketeers, we're always trying to enrich the experience of the children and try and make it as relevant as possible and try and make it as up to date as possible, because the sport, as I said earlier, is evolving and changing all the time. And so we've got these boxes now that are wireless, so they still get to use the plastic swords, which are safe and harmless. But when they score a point on their partner, through wireless technology, the light will come up on the box, and it just gives them instantly that feeling what it's like to be in a real competition. Okay. The Olympics or World Championships or even against different schools.
My name's Flora and I've been doing fencing for 4 years now. The reason I keep coming back every year is because the excitement is really overwhelming when you win a match, because you just think I've done it and I know, and you can get medals over it.
It's like it helps you concentrate a lot more on what you're doing except from what's around you.
My name's Max and I've been doing fencing for 5 years, and I started when I was 6. And I just keep coming back because every time you go, you know if you lose you can improve and you can just get better and better every week. But if you win, it's a really good feeling, and you just know that you're going to keep on coming back.